Hey everyone, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another video. And I know in my last couple of videos I've kind of talked about job related things. Sorry, that's just my kick right now. And I'm going to, of course, do, well, at least one more in the immediate future. Sooner or later I'll get back to metal, I promise. But I don't know, I just find this kind of shit interesting. So anyway, I actually recorded my statistics around job hunting this time. And let me explain what I mean by that. There are a couple of types of what I would call job searches, right? There is the, oh shit, I'm out of work right now and I need a job because I know unemployment won't last forever. So there's the total desperation type of job search, right? Which is less than ideal because very often you will take a job that is, maybe not ideal for you, right? So there's that. That's one thing, all right? Okay, so the another type of job search is you're at a job that you strongly dislike for one reason or another, right? Your back's kind of against the wall, and you're not at desperation level yet, but you're extremely unhappy in your job. And I know from personal experience, when you do that as well, you may accept something again that's somewhat less than optimal because I've done that before, right? Just to get out of your terrible, terrible situation. I learned the hard way that is probably not the best thing to do. Because and then lastly, there is the third type of job search, and this is actually the first time that I've gotten to do this type of job search. Probably in 10 years. And that is the job search where you're very relaxed. You can really take your time. Be very selective about what companies you apply for. Only interview, if it feels right, that kind of stuff, right? And that is the job search type that just completed for me, and I think it resulted in a really good match. Of course, I'm going to know a lot more after I'm at the new organization for a little while. It's way, I don't know yet, but I'll definitely report back on that in a few months. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about my last 3 job searches because I actually kept in one of my email folders every job I applied for. And 2 of the last 3 jobs I applied for, I have to do that for at least 3 years because during 2 of my last 3 job searches, I was out of work, right? So that's good. And when you're filing for unemployment, if they ever, quote, audit you, you have to provide proof that you applied for the jobs or whatever. So that's why I basically kept those emails. So anyway, I'm going to tell you about my last 3 job searches. I'll tell you what the circumstances were around my job searching, and I'll kind of tell you more or less what happened at the end of those, at the end of the road of those job searches. So the first one that I have statistics for is from 2019, and that was from a job that I got shit canned from, right? But I will tell you that the job that I had before that one, I was there almost 2 years at the job previous to the one I got shit canned from, where I worked for like 9 months. Basically, I left that job because of the on-call component, right? So that was the job, basically where I got a call at 3 a.m. because the fucking internet was out. I'd show up. Oh, nothing's wrong, So interviewing for the company, this is just, it was an extremely short job hunt, which in itself, at the time, I didn't think was super suspicious, but it was, right? Because that's literally the only job I interviewed for during that job hunt, right? And because I hated being on call so much, I took the role, even though, like, during the interview, process, I was kind of like meh about the place, right? And I knew they had ridiculously expensive health insurance, but I still kind of just went for it just to get away from being on call, right? I just didn't want to be on call anymore. That's pretty much the reason I left that other company and went to the place that shit canned me, right? I just couldn't deal with the on call anymore. So anyway, after I got shit canned from that company, I was only out of work for a month and a half, and this was back in 2019. This was basically from June of 2019 to like the middle of July of 2019. So I was out of work for 1.5 months. I applied for 90 jobs, and I had 7 interviews, right? So there you go. That was basically my stats there, and that was a very, quote, urgent job search, right? So I ended up at a company. That was my 40% pay drop because the place that shit canned me was paying me 75 grand. The new place only paid me 45 grand, right? So it was the only offer I had. And during that urgent job hunt, basically, it was the only offer I could get. There were other jobs I was more interested in because they paid more, yada yada yada. But I didn't get any of those. So you only get what you can get, right? So I took the job, and that was basically that, right? And I worked there for 9 or 10 months, and then COVID happened, and they laid me off on April 1st of 2020 due to basically more than 50% reduction in their business. Right. So, obviously I was out on my ass again, and I had to start looking for work again. So, the time it took for me to basically look for a job, I was out of work for 3.5 months that time. And I applied at 106 jobs. And yes, that is a bigger number than the first one, but over a much longer time period. And of course, this was during the height of the pandemic. And I only had 3 interviews. Out of 106 jobs that I applied for, I only got 3 interviews. That's how I knew how bad the economy was. Because for me, I usually get a lot of interviews, which I will tell you about, when we get to this next one here. I am a person that you typically, when I start applying, people tend to want to talk to me just because I got a lot of experience. I have a lot of technology knowledge, all this shit, right? People will want to talk to me at least. And the fact that it was like I was having almost no success, told me just how bad things were during the depth of the pandemic, right? So obviously I was lucky enough to get a job. And I'm not going to lie, a big part of the reason I got that job is because my wife was friends with like one of the HR people that worked at this company, and I kind of got referred that way, and there you go. So I ended up at this other company, which is basically an MSP/telecom, basically being a voice engineer, which is, which was fine, but definitely not in my wheelhouse. I'm much more of a typical corporate IT guy. And of course, it was low pay as well. It was only 45 grand. And with this job, I found out about a month work after I started working there that sooner or later I would have to, that there would be on call. And I was like, oh God, I didn't even figure that out during, but again, it was the only job offer I got. So even if I had known during the interview process, I still would have accepted because I wouldn't have had any other really options. So, I worked there, and now to be fair, I did enjoy it. Very pleasant people. The working from home aspect is awesome. So I can't say it was terrible because absolutely not. So because of the fact that I was working at somewhere that I, was totally fine with staying at for a while if I had to, I could stay. I honestly could see I could have tolerated it for a year or two if I really needed to. It wouldn't have been the end of the world, right? So I was able to, do the job search that just wrapped up, right? I was able to do a very, what I would call relaxed job search, right? And I started, we'll say, a week or two before, before Halloween of last year of 2020. And I finished it, April of this year. So basically, we count the months out: October, November, December, January, February, March, April. It's basically a 7-month job search, right? During those 7 months, I only applied for 85 jobs, which is not that many for that amount of time, right? Because I was very selective about the jobs that I applied for. And during that time, I had 9 interviews, right? And one thing that has often been the case for me, um, I will almost every time that I'm looking for a job, right? At the end of the process, like when I know either A, I've gotten an offer or I'm really close to getting an offer, usually I'm in consideration for multiple roles, right? I'm like in the interviewing. By the time I get to an offer, almost always I am in the process for multiple roles, right? And this time is, in fact, the only time that I can remember that I got the job, that I actually wanted the most. This past job search, I got the job that when at the end when I was in process for, I don't know, 3 or 4 interviews or whatever. At the very end, I actually managed to get the job that I actually wanted the most. Typically, I get the job that I want the least. That's usually what happens to me. I almost always get the one that I want the least, but I actually, for once, got the one that I wanted the most, which is amazingly great. And I think a big part of it is the fact that I was able to do it in an extremely relaxed manner. I was not stressed about getting a job quickly, and that is absolutely the best way to conduct a job search. Yes, you can do it under the gun, but you're probably going to have worse results. And unfortunately, sometimes you have no choice because you're out of work and shit happens. So I can't sit here and say, oh, just because you're out of work, you should take it nice and easy. Absolutely not. It'd be terrible advice if you're out of work. You're not going to be able to take it nice and easy. I know I sure can't. But if you are working, even if you hate your current job, let's say you're at a job that you don't like for whatever reason, right? And you want to get out of there. Do your best to be as relaxed in your job search as you can. And the reason I say that is because you will probably have better results if you do. Because like I said, take it from me, I was a guy who basically left 2 jobs in a row that I didn't like one aspect of it or another, right? Um, and neither time did it end up well. One company that I was at that I really hated was the first MSP I ever worked, and that they were basically slave drivers. They're like literal slave drivers. It felt like. I did take a job that was better, but it still had a very significant on-call component that I didn't like. So I felt the need to get away from that. And then I had a really short job hunt, and I was a little iffy on that job, but I still accepted the job. And then I got shit canned from that job. So, I've learned. And then this job search has been, and then of course I had 2 more job searches that were very, hurry up and get a job because I was out of work. And, you know, um, yeah, that was both times I was out of work. I got jobs that were very low paying. So this is the first time in, like I said, probably like 10 years, literally like 10 years, where I was able to take my time, really see what's out there, compare and contrast, and only do a job that I actually really wanted to do. So if you can, even if you're on a job you hate, try to have that mentality. Do your best. I know it's hard, but just try, because trust me, you'll probably have better results. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments below what experiences you guys have had regarding this. But anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. As always, live long and prosper. Keep on rocking. I'll see you guys in the next one.